Let me show y'all how I cook some apple pie ribs. They're gonna wanna make you fly to the store to grab some ribs to cook them. They're that good. Let's get started. All right, the first thing we need to do is get these ribs out of the pack. You can see that I'm cooking Prairie Fresh Primes. That's one of the best commodity ribs you can buy without a doubt. So let's get them out of the pack, get the membrane skin off the back, and I'm gonna follow this bone kind of down here. Now that we've got our ribs out of the pack, first thing I wanna do, I'm gonna take and dry these things off just a little bit, get some of that excess moisture off. You can see these things still have the membrane on. So while I've got a glove, you're always welcome to take a napkin. So on a St. Louis style rib, it's a little bit harder, but on a baby back, if you just swap over here to the knuckle side and kind of feed your thumb down between two bones and kind of just go all the way to the end with that, and get all the way under that, and when you get under it, kind of got it good and pliable, it rips right off. No problem at all. So just to show you it wasn't a fluke, let's go in here and do this one. Just like that. Simple, easy. I've skinned a lot of baby back ribs in my day, and that's one of the easiest ways to do it is with your old thumb with a pair of gloves on. I'm gonna get these ribs turned over now. You see they're nice and meaty. This slab here is really, really thick compared to this one. I'm not gonna remove a lot off of this one except for just a little bit maybe right here. I feel a little bit of fat right there, but it's not much at all. I'm gonna turn these over where they're like this and trim that little piece off right there. I'm gonna kind of take my knife right here and just stay right on top of that. Now you see how I took that down there? Now I can feel the thick pockets of fat in between the bones, and you can just take and shave it out. Just as simple and easy, not a big deal at all. Come down here and flatten that off. Now, I've got that rib how I want it right there. I think that's fine, nothing wrong with it. That's a good, meaty, at-home eating rib. So this right here's got a good hump in it right here. I'm gonna take it out. Get those tendons off of that rib. I'm gonna come in here and do the same thing on that fat. Just shave it off. Now, once I get everything looking good, and I got all of that kind of trimmed up, I turn it back over and make sure there's no excess on the back here. We'll kind of get that little bit of loose meat off. So, I'm gonna talk to you guys a minute about trimming these ribs up competition style at your butcher. And so this is gonna be the knuckle side here. So what I do, I come in here and these ribs are already kind of short. I'm not trimming anything off the ends, but I would come in here and I'd start about the second big bone from the end, and I would make sure I get where the camera can see me. I'd start about right here and I just nip those bones off right there. And when you do that, you make that rib about 3 3/4 inches wide, but it cuts that steep curve out of it where that rib is standing in that blind box. Here at home, it doesn't matter. It also, on the knuckle end, is kind of another bone down here, so when you take that out, you can cut between them really good for competition to get them in the blind box. It's not at home. When you get down the end, you kind of have to go around them, right? That doesn't matter at home. We're just looking for a good eating rib at home. That's it. It does not have to be all the other mess like a competition. So now that I've got these turned over on the back side, I'm gonna get one of my gloves off here. I'm not using a binder today. I'm gonna come back with a garlic jalapeno rub as my base. Come back with a good medium coat of that. And once I get that laid down, I'm gonna kind of pat it in. Now I'm gonna come back with some of my apple rub. This rub was kind of born off of my sweet rub. I've changed up several ingredients in it and got that apple flavor that I'm looking for. If you're wanting something that's kind of fruity, tart, a little bit different than something else, this apple rub is for you. Really good on pork. Now, repeat the process. You know what I like about these roll-up bags? I can throw them down here on the bottom of my Traeger. They're not gonna get wet. Yeah, the bag's faded some. What does that matter? These charcoal pellets don't matter if they get wet, which they don't in the bag. It makes it easy and good. Let's get this thing filled up. All right, let's get these baby back ribs on our smoker. You can see they've sweated in here about 10 minutes. We've got this Traeger fired up with these Royal Oak pellets running at 300 degrees. Let's get these babies on. They're thick and meaty. I know they're gonna take a minute. All right, now that we get our ribs on, let's get the grill lid shut. Let these Royal Oak charcoal pellets do their job. I'm gonna take a look at them in about an hour, hour and 15 minutes, not a rush at all. So I'm gonna get my Alexa set, a timer, and I'll see y'all in a bit. Alexa, set a timer for 1 hour and 15 minutes. That just makes cooking easy. All right, we're an hour and 15 minutes in. I've got some apple juice here, some good old Mott's in my little spray bottle. And look, these ribs are starting to dry out on top. I'm gonna go ahead and spritz them down. Remember, we're trying to keep this apple flavor consistent all the way through. Oh yeah. Those ribs look beautiful. Let's give them another hour and we'll be back to wrap. All right, now the first thing I want to do right before I wrap my ribs, I'm going to get some butter bath made up. I'm going to make this a little bit different though, because I'm trying to put a little bit more apple flavor into this rib. So of course I'm going to use apple juice. I'm only going to use an 8-ounce bottle of it here. That's it. I'm going to make this kind of thick though, okay? And so after I use that 8-ounce thing, I'm going to take my Apple Habanero Rib Glaze here, and I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 good squirts of that. I'm going to call that 4 tablespoons, okay? Now I'm wrapping 2 racks of ribs, so remember this is going to be split in half. So I want to put 1/4 cup and another 1/4 cup. Now, once I get all that in there, I'm gonna shake this up, and this is what I'm gonna pour in my rib wrap. You know, you can take this butter bath and kind of make it your own. A lot of times I mix glazes in it. Sometimes I add it in the foil. It's just about getting other layers of flavor. But you don't need really any of this other stuff. Using this right here to wrap your rib with makes it simple and easy. Let's get this shook up, get ready to wrap some ribs. Now, one thing I'm gonna do a little bit different today, I'm also gonna use some cinnamon applesauce in this foil with this rib to impart just a little bit more apple flavor and a little bit of that cinnamon flavor. So before I even get started here, I've got a tablespoon. I'm gonna go 1, 2, about 3, and I'm just gonna kind of smear that down, okay? Now I'm gonna lay that rib face down in that. Let's get these ribs off the grill. Now we've been running about 2 hours and 10 minutes, and look at that. That apple rub is starting to caramelize. It's got a beautiful, beautiful candy apple color to it. And I hadn't spritzed these ribs again. I hadn't done anything to them. They look great. Let's get them off the grill, get them over here to the pan. And they already got a little bit of a bend to them, just what I like. Those look beautiful. Let's get them over here and put them to bed. I'm gonna take and lay that rib down. I'm gonna get off anything. Got any of this little black bone marrow is kind of pushed out. Let's get some more of this apple cinnamon on this rib here, and I'm just gonna spread that down that rib. And remember, this is just a layer of flavor. All of it's gonna wipe off in the end. Give that butter bath one more little spin around there. Use about half of that in the wrap. Now I've got my foil doubled up here like I do every time. Kind of lay that over. Now I've got this foil also in a sheet pan. Kind of hold all this liquid in here. Now, while I do that, let's get down some more applesauce. 1, 2, and 3. Way back there was a time long ago, I used to use apple cinnamon applesauce in our rib wrap when we were cooking on a water cooker. That was years ago though. Now that we've got that other butter bath in here, let's get this slab wrapped up too. All right. Let's get these ribs back over to the Traeger, get them on. We're gonna let them go 1 hour and check them. So running 300 degrees eliminates a few problems. I like 275 on any pellet grill, but I think that's more like the way a pellet grill fluctuates sometimes. I like going up another 25 degrees in heat. So on a normal grill, I'd run these about 275 on an offset, but on a Traeger, I always go up 25 degrees. I like the way that heat moves in it with the fan. I just think it gets better circulation. So I go about 2 hours, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20 minutes out of the foil, and I always say an hour as a good baseline on ribs to check, especially that meaty of a rib like those Prairie Fresh Primes are. Give it 1 hour in the foil, then start probing and checking. It might need all the way up to an hour and a half. That's completely up to how tender you want your ribs. We'll be back in an hour. Alexa, set a timer for 1 hour. All right, our ribs are almost done cooking. They've almost been on an hour, so I want to go ahead and get some sauce made up for these couple slabs of ribs. Now I'm just going to use some of my sweet barbecue sauce. I'm going to do equal parts of sweet sauce, competition sauce, all right? And then I'm going to come back with a little bit of my Apple Habanero barbecue glaze, okay? And you can do about a quarter to what you do of sauce. And then to amp up the apple flavor a little more, I'm gonna put a little bit of our apple rub in this, okay? Just a little bit. Now I'm gonna get this stirred up and get it on my Traeger to start kind of warming up, dissolving down really good and letting those flavors marry together. We'll get that over here and these ribs should be coming off just in a minute. All right, our ribs have been on for an hour. The Alexa just went off. I'm gonna let this smoke clear just a little bit, get my eyes here. Let's get in here and unwrap this rib. We got some pullback on those big bones here. I'm not even using this thermopin yet, I hadn't been here, but I can tell you this rib's probably gonna be close to tender, and it is, look at that. Now I'm gonna go ahead, that's that push-pull test, I'm gonna go right in here on that. Look at that. Right the numbers I'm looking for, 207, 208. I preach it and talk about it, and I never had probed it. Woo, making my eyes water. But look at that, 209 degrees. You're getting that pullback what you want, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and check this other one here. All right, we're gonna have the same bit. I'm gonna come down this rib, and we know it's tender. All right. And we'll be smart. I'm gonna get some heat gloves though, because all I've got on is regular gloves. Let's get them off. Before we get them off though, I'm gonna go ahead and set my sauce mixture on here and let it start warming up while these ribs are resting. Woo, these might be a little warm. I'm gonna leave that sauce sitting on there, let it go, and I'm gonna set these ribs on the counter and just let them rest for about 20 to 30 minutes before we glaze them up and put them back on here. We'll be right back. All right, let's get this sauce off the grill. These ribs have been resting 30 minutes. That is as long as I can stand it today. I know this sauce is warm. I've stirred it once or twice. Let's get it over here and get ready to glaze some ribs. So unwrapping these ribs here, I'm just gonna be really, really gentle when I take them out of the pack here. I'm gonna take my brush before I do that though. And let me move this rack. I'm gonna get this up here where y'all can see this. So when I take this right here, all this applesauce that's left on this rib here, I'm gonna kind of just paint it off of it, okay? And now that I've got that off, go ahead and pick this rib up. And it is warm. Let's set it there. Now maybe y'all can see this one a little bit better. But that applesauce that's remaining here, just take and just brush it off. Just want to brush it off. Now, once you get all that off, you got to pick this one up the same way. Shake it off, get it over there. Now, I'm going to discard of this here. All right, now that I've still got a glove on, I'm not going to reach and grab this pot because it has been on the smoker. So I'm going to make sure I use my pot holder from ThermoWorks here. And I'm just gonna pour some of this sauce on. Get it all over this rib. Let it run down it, and I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing. Now, let's flip them over, get this top side done. Now that you got these all painted up pretty, we'll make sure we get all the sides and edges. I want to get these back on the cooker for about 15 or 20 minutes to kind of set this glaze on them. So let's get them back on the Traeger. It's still running at 300 degrees, those Royal Oak charcoal pellets. Let's tack this glaze up. Don't those look good? Now let's get that grill lid shut and give it 15. We're gonna have one heck of a rib. All right, we put our ribs back on. It's been 15 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and shut my cooker down here, put it in shutdown mode before I forget. So it's starting to shut down. Oh, look at that. Those ribs are perfect. I'll take that all day long and twice on Sunday. Let's get these babies off. Those are two beautiful racks right there. All right, you can see our ribs are off the grill. We've glazed them up. So just to talk a little bit about our ribs, we've done minimal trimming on these ribs, and we also skint the membrane off the back. We then turned around, come back with a good layer of that garlic jalapeno rub, and then that apple rub. We put them on our pit with Royal Oak charcoal pellets at 300 degrees. They run 1 hour. We checked them, spritzed them with apple juice, let them go for about another hour and 10 minutes. We then wrapped them up in foil with butter bath, a little bit of the Apple Habanero blended in with the butter bath, and then turned around also and put apple cinnamon applesauce in the foil with it. So we try to impart a lot of apple flavor in these ribs. We come back after that and made a glaze up of our competition barbecue sauce, our sweet sauce, a little bit of that Apple Habanero Glaze, and then put a little bit more of that apple rub in it. And so let's pick these ribs up here. You can see that rib's wanting to bend there and break, but it's not quite yet. You can pick it up. Oh, look, just broke over. Just perfect though. That's the way I want those ribs. Where you can pick them up, but look at that. You can take it right off too. And the back of that rib looks just like the front. Does not matter. That's what we tell the judges. And I was gonna wait to try this and show y'all. Let me see if I can't get this other rib up. But I can pick this other rib up and do it the same way. Throw it back down, I can break it too, but when you can take that meat and just peel it off the bone right there like that, after semi-picking it up, this was a great rib. There's only one thing left to do. Let's get in here and try it. Sometimes the flavor really shines through, and today, this is about like the pineapple upside down ribs that I've done. This is an incredible layer of flavors. If you're wanting something a little bit unique, a little bit of sweetness, got some back end heat from that garlic jalapeno, you're gonna love this apple pie rib. Be sure to give it a try because it's definitely worth it. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, and of course YouTube. I'll see you next week with another video.